Hello, I'm Alan, this is Teresa, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. Today starts an exciting week. We are down in Maryland for a week's vacation, and we decided to bite off the metric century right off the bat. We are going to be riding out to Assateague Island today, and hopefully we'll get some good footage of the wild horses out there. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Well, without further ado, let's ride. Okay, we knew when we set out on this that this was going to be a metric century plus. In fact, this was probably by far Teresa's longest ride to date. In terms of the weather for today's ride, at the start of the day, it was 81 degrees, and the temperature climbed probably up to around 100 degrees. My Garmin said that it was around 106, 107. I will say that towards the end of the ride, like 2, 3 in the afternoon, you could feel the heat reflecting off of the pavement. And I think that may have been a factor in the Garmin saying how hot it was. I don't think the air temperature was actually that hot, but we may have experienced that kind of heat. At the start of the ride, it was 80% relative humidity, so it was not only hot but humid. And the wind was 8.5 miles per hour out of the southwest. Now, if you think about that, that means since we were going primarily east for the first half of the ride and west for the way back, that means that we had a pretty decent headwind coming back. And as the day progressed, the wind picked up. As a matter of fact, at one point we were on one road coming back, and there were flags flying, and the flags were standing out, pointed directly at us as we're approaching them, standing straight out. So that'll give you some idea of the kind of headwind we were fighting, particularly on the way back. In terms of the length of today's ride, it was 75.95 miles. We had 422 feet of elevation gain. So as metric centuries go, this one was pretty flat. As a matter of fact, there were sections that were completely flat. We had an average moving speed of 12.7 miles per hour. We had a maximum speed of 19.7 miles per hour. We had a total moving time of 5 hours, 59 minutes, 27 seconds, and an elapsed time of 8:08:51. My average heart rate was 114 beats per minute. My maximum heart rate was 134 beats per minute, and I burned a total of 1,708 calories, according to Garmin, over the course of the ride. In terms of the location of today's ride, we started out in Salisbury, Maryland. In fact, the entire ride was in Maryland. We went through Parsonburg, Pittsville, Willards, Whaleyville, then this really cute small town, Berlin, Golden Quarter Neck, Sandy Point, and I got a kick out of this when I saw it on the map. The bridge that went from Sandy Point to Assateague Island is called the Verrazano Bridge. So for those of you in the New York area, yeah, we rode across the Verrazano Bridge twice. And then, of course, we were on Assateague Island. back across the Verrazano Bridge to Sandy Point, Sinnapuxent, back through Berlin, Liberty Town, then back through Pittsville, Parsonburg, and Salisbury. You'll hear in the middle of this video a short real-time video showing some horses, and I refer to it as being even more horses. The reason for that was because I took other videos, but the horses were off in the distance and you couldn't really see them very well. The last video that we stopped for, we actually got fairly close to the horses and I was able to get some pretty good footage. As you can see in the video, we're on Assateague Island now, and we are about to head south on Assateague Island. We did stop several times to see horses, although, as I said, the horses were a little far away. But you'll see coming up here some pretty good footage of the horses. We had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, I'm going to stop the voiceover for now so you can hear. And more horses. Here they come.
I guess they're not happy.
They're not happy, and I don't think that dog is happy either. And I wouldn't be happy right now if I was the person who owns that red SUV and wanted to go.
I think the guy's trying to keep them from the garbage.
One observation I would like to make, this was my observation, I think it was Teresa's feelings as well, but one downside to a really long ride to a destination where you then have to turn around and ride back is the ride to the destination. We had a blast. We had a lot of fun. We were moving along at a pretty good clip. Towards the beginning, we were averaging about, close to 20 miles an hour. Well, I should say we were averaging probably about 16, 17 miles per hour and topping out at around 20 miles per hour, which for Teresa is pretty quick. And that is a nice accomplishment for her. Unfortunately, she tired herself out. We got to Assateague Island. We rode down to where we got fairly close to the horses, had some fun horse watching, and then we had to ride all the way back. And at that point, I think we had gone about 37 and a half miles. And someone asked us if we had taken a long ride, and I said, yes, we had gone 37 and a half miles to get here, which means we now have to ride 37 and a half miles to get home, which was true. And I found, for me at least, that when we turned around and got off of Assateague Island and started heading back towards Salisbury into the headwind, it wasn't as fun. To make matters even worse, Teresa had the dubious experience of not just her first flat, possibly in her adult life as a cyclist, but her second flat as well. Now, I think I deserve the responsibility for the second flat because we encountered the first flat and she had one spare tube with her. And so we stopped. I went to change out the tube. I got the tire off. I checked the tire for any punctures. I couldn't find anything. I felt the entire tire with my fingers, couldn't feel anything. I inspected the rim. I inspected the rim tape, couldn't find anything. The tube itself still had a decent amount of air in it, and neither one of us could find where it was leaking air from. And so, in my incredible logic, I decided, it must just be a slow leak. Rather than putting the new tube in, let's just put the old tube back in and inflate it back up and continue to ride. We got a short while down the road and Teresa called out to me that she could hear the tire hissing. And sure enough, this time there was much less air in the tube when I took it apart. Still couldn't find where the puncture was or what caused the puncture. Thankfully, she did have a spare tube. I changed it. It held. It didn't puncture again, and we were able to make it the rest of the way home. But if it had punctured again, we would not have completed this ride. We would have been taking an Uber back to the hotel because I'm not sure what other option we would have had at that point. After the ride, we did go out and find a store and buy a couple more spare tubes. But so we're in good shape tube-wise, hopefully, for the rest of the week. If it turns out that we aren't, we know exactly where to go to get more tubes. In terms of what we're planning for this week, we're looking at probably, tomorrow morning we're just going for a 20-mile ride because we have some stuff to do. We're going to a baseball game tomorrow night. So, tomorrow's just going to be 20 miles. We're going to sleep in and then get up, eat breakfast, go for a 20-mile ride, and do some other vacation-related stuff, and then go to the baseball game. The next day, Wednesday, we're riding out to see a lighthouse, and that is pretty far out, so that's going to be another metric century plus. We'll see how that goes. Not sure yet what we're going to do Thursday, Friday. Probably shorter rides. Probably just the 2 long rides. At the end of this video, before the afterward, the video ends abruptly. And that is because my next to last battery died just as we were crossing the highway to get to the hotel. And so I didn't think it was necessary to change the battery and get those last few seconds of video. So we just rode to the hotel, and then I changed out the battery and recorded the afterward. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wish I could say it was enjoyable to make. Certainly the first half was. The second half was a little torturous. The 10-mile stretch where we got the 2 flats was not fun. And then the last, I would say, 5 miles was a little not fun because by then we had the sun coming on, beating down on us and the heat reflecting off of the pavement. But But I'm glad we did it. We had fun on Assateague Island. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And I will make another video tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Take care. Have a good night.
Well, that was pretty cool and really hot at the same time. We got to see the horses, which was awesome. We got to see some grazing horses in pastures. We got to see cows, goats, and the Maryland countryside. So that's all for today. Until next time, stay safe out there.